Let's play a historical save going way back in time to a pivotal moment in the early 20th century that altered the balance of power in the American League for over 80 years. The infamous sale of Babe Ruth from the Red Sox to the Yankees late in 1919 sent shockwaves through baseball even before Ruth's career peaked, and once it did, the Yankees racked up 26 World Series championships before the previously prosperous Red Sox collected their next one. It was the infamous curse of the Bambino. Our objective is to stop the Yankees dynasty before it begins by winning the Red Sox a World Series first. I also win the challenge if Babe Ruth retires before winning a ring, even if we don't manage one ourselves, because in those circumstances, the sale of Ruth would have just been a dumb move, not a curse invoker. And as always, if I get fired or leave the Red Sox, I lose the challenge as well. I set up a typical historical save and changed the settings listed below. Everything else is on the default. Trading is at the hardest setting with hard mode on. I've cleaned up things like rookie free agency, expanded roster rules, and awards simply for realism. We're playing in career mode, which means there'll be a few alternate universe storylines like the White Sox avoiding indictment for throwing the 1919 World Series and Ray Chapman not getting killed by a pitch thrown by Carl Mays late in that season. I play with some additional house rules that close ugly loopholes in the game and recommend you adopt these to avoid cheesy victories. The most notable is that I'm not allowed to acquire Babe Ruth, of course. Speaking of Ruth, there is his profile. He's coming off an 8-WAR season and still has room to grow as a hitter. His defense in the corner outfield is an asset as well, though it does appear his pitching days are over. We're taking over a Red Sox team that finished 5th in the American League last season and suffered their first losing season since 1908. We've won 3 of the last 5 World Series. I have a mid-level budget and tons of cash to work with, though that looks to be the case for most clubs, as baseball must have been quite profitable during this period. The Yankees finished 3rd and are looking to move up with their prized addition. Outside of Ruth, just 2 position players and 5 pitchers posted 2 WAR or better in 1919. One of those was Carl Mays, who is headed to the Yankees in the offseason. While we don't have a massive rebuild on our hands, there are some holes to fill. We play our home games at Fenway Park, which was just constructed 8 years ago. It's a pitcher's park for sure. Home runs are tough to come by in this era anyway, and that extreme home run suppression means we need to win with gap hitters, control pitchers, and solid defense. Henry Frazee is our owner, and I updated his bio for accuracy. Outside of making the worst transaction in the history of Major League Baseball, he's a pretty good owner. The Red Sox have an average starting rotation led by 20-year-old Wade Hoyt. In real life, he was part of the 27 Yankees, but hopefully his stuff and control matures and he becomes a top pitcher for the Red Sox. Number 2 starter Joe Bush is attempting to return from an arm injury, but was stellar for the Red Sox in 1918. Doesn't seem like an ideal number 2, but he could stick in the rotation. 26-year-old Hal Devaney should offer a healthy strikeout rate, but we'll have to see how well he avoids walks and hard contact in his first big league season. Left-hander Herb Pennock led our staff with 16 wins and 70 strikeouts last season after missing the 1918 season to serve in the Navy. Fenway Park should suit his plus control profile nicely. He's another pitcher for the real-life 27 Yankees that I'd like to hold on to. 27-year-old Sam Jones suffered 20 losses last season and doesn't appear to have a skill set that will stick in our starting rotation. He posted minuscule strikeout rates in recent seasons, and the 3-pitch arsenal will make it difficult for him to pitch deep into games. Left-hander Harry Harper also lost 20 games last season, and we acquired him via trade from the Senators in the offseason. There's still some growth left in this 24-year-old, but I'm not in love with the selfish personality or that 3-pitch offering. Alan Russell is a spitball specialist who performed nicely after being acquired by mid-season trade from the Yankees. I'd like to see him top off that control and cement himself as our closer. New save, new office. What do you think? We got 4 decent starters, and I'm pretty sure they ran 4-man rotations during this era, and yet I see everyone running a 5-man, so we'll see about that. What I don't see is any high potential talent that gets me at all excited about the future. Wally Shang is a nice bat-first catcher. That 75 I rating helped him post a .435 on-base percentage in 1919. This could be our leadoff hitter. Ray Grimes might be our best player. We need to get his first base defense up to par, but he's going to hit a ton out of the 3-hole. We got Eddie Foster in an offseason trade with the Senators. He looks more like a nice utility infielder than a starting level second baseman, but he's not going to kill us either. Ozzie Witt, on the other hand, is a problem. He came over from the Tigers in 1919 and performed below replacement level. He's good at bunting, I guess. Everett Scott isn't going to hit much, but the 65 defense at shortstop cements his place in this lineup. Mike Minosky came over with Eddie Foster in the Senators trade. He looks pretty good with the bat, on the base paths, and in the outfield. That outspoken personality is cause for concern, though. Tim Hendricks gets another chance in the major leagues after prior stints with the Yankees and Browns. He checks a box as a leader, and his bat's interesting, but he doesn't really pass in center field. But Harry Hooper should do nicely there. He also brings a nice all-around bat from the left side and runs the bases well, so he'll be our number 2 hitter. Our minor league system is dead last. We have 2 minor leaguers in the top 100. It's worth mentioning there are no affiliated minor league teams yet. I have a 10-man reserve roster to work with. Number 90, second base prospect Cliff Brady has exactly one thing going for him, and that's being a captain. He can't hit, he can't run, he can't field. So sit on the bench and do captain things. Number 92, outfield prospect Ben Paschal has very similar, great personality, not very good at playing baseball. If we can find an upgrade at third base and the outfield, I'll really like this run scoring attack. Here's our complete roster to begin the save. We'll have an opportunity to acquire some good free agents if we can outbid the other clubs. And here's the Yankee roster that we're trying to thwart. Ruth should carry their run-scoring attack, but they don't seem like the best team in the American League quite yet. If Lefty O'Doul and Bob Musil develop into 5-star players, we'll be in trouble. But their only great pitcher is 36, and they still have work to do there. The only personnel I'm interested in keeping are pitching coach Trevor Davis and possibly first base coach Mark Dixon. I'll be seeking upgrades to replace everyone else on this staff. Let's get to work. First order of business was filling that open third base coach role with Dustin Linville. Then we upgraded our hitting coach and our trainer. Finally, we fired Ed Barrow and hired Blake Siebert. The average relationships aren't ideal, but he's pretty strong everywhere else. Then we dealt our 4th and 5th string catchers to the Brooklyn Robins for $2,000 in cash and swingman George Mohart. The 28-year-old is yet to make his major league debut and offers us depth in both the rotation and bullpen. Then we dealt our potentialist prospect Ben Paschal, reliever Harry Harper, and the unmotivated Ben Carr to the St. Louis Cardinals for swingman Freddie Schupp, who won 21 games for the New York Giants in 1917. The high stuff and low command makes him promising but volatile from the left side. Then we signed Frank Home Run Baker. Despite his declaration that he lost interest in baseball following the death of his wife, I told him the damn Yankees replaced him with Babe Ruth and didn't want him back, and that got him all riled up, so he fills our hole at third base nicely. We do need to get his defense back up to par, but he's going to be a great asset. Then we signed one of the more bizarre catchers or position players I've seen in the game. He's a left-handed catcher with reverse splits who possesses plus contact and eye while offering 0 power. I have no idea how he'll perform, but he's ours now. Finally, a big splash. We signed promising 21-year-old outfielder Al Wingo. He played briefly for the Athletics last season and was solid with the bat. The defense is going to be problematic initially, but I'm going to platoon him in right field with Tim Hendricks. Then we signed 3 more pitchers. Former Cardinals pitcher Dan Greiner, who lost 22 games in 1913. Former Pirates starter Frank Miller, who lost 19 games in 1917. And another former Pirate, Carmen Hill. I don't have a good scouting report on any of them, but they all look like promising options out of the bullpen. Here is your 1920 Boston Red Sox opening day roster. 8 of these players were acquired in the days leading up to the season. We are able to use up to 35 until May 15th, but right now I wouldn't want any other players taking the field, so they'll stay on our reserve roster. Frank Baker drove in Ray Grimes for our first run of the season, but closer Adam Russell lost the lead on this Elmer Bowman single. Russell got out of the inning, allowing Stuffy McGinnis to send the fans home happy. with this walk-off single to score Johnny Bassler. Waite Hoyt outdueled the legend Walter Johnson, but didn't earn the win. More good news, the Yankees lost to the Philadelphia Athletics. However, the bad news is left fielder Mike Minosky left the game with an injury and is out for the rest of the season with a fractured elbow. Time to make our first trip to the Polo Grounds and face Babe Ruth, and he just smoked that pitch into the right center field gap. Yankees win this one easily, 8-2. We finished April tied with the Yankees and just one game behind the Cleveland Indians. We can thank right fielder Harry Hooper and starting pitcher Waite Hoyt for that. It turns out we can run a three-man rotation, and that's helped us allow the second fewest runs in the American League. We also acquired some more help during April. 23-year-old Johnny Mostel should turn into a premier center fielder and has a nice bat to go with it. He took over center field and bumped Harry Hooper to the corner outfield spots. Bubbles Hargrave returns to Major League Baseball 5 years after playing for the Chicago Cubs. I love the bat and hope the defense behind the plate improves to league average. He gives us 3 excellent catchers, so we may be able to trade one for an area of need. Dick McCabe pitched a few games for us in 1918, and now he's back as an interesting option in the bullpen or possibly the rotation in the future. That future arrived for McCabe quickly, but left fielder Wally Shang stole the show with a first-inning single, second-inning double, 4th-inning single, 6th-inning single, and 7th-inning RBI single for a 5-hit game against the Athletics. We won 10-4 and pulled to within a half game of our rival New York Yankees. Cleveland slipped to 4 games back, and I'm hoping they come back because my only goal this season is to stop the Yankees. Stopping them ourselves got much harder when star outfielder Harry Hooper went down with a torn thumb ligament. Johnny Mostel carried us with spectacular defense and 20 runs batted in, while Waite Hoyt collected 4 victories. Pete Compton is an emergency depth option in the outfield, while Chippy Gaw and Art Neff have claimed bullpen opportunities. Will any of them make a difference? Maybe, maybe not. Walter Johnson induced a double play for a complete game win for the Senators, which puts us 3 games behind the Yankees now. We finished 13-13 in June and struggled to score runs without Harry Hooper. Johnny Mostel posted a .907 OPS to keep us afloat, while Waite Hoyt continues to pace the pitching staff. If we can't stay close to the Yankees, our next move will be to trade assets to the St. Louis Browns or the National League leading New York Giants to defeat the Yankees. The next few weeks will be crucial. We made 2 more minor signings in June. Sherry McGee is a more trustworthy 5th outfielder option, while prospect Sud Sutherland becomes our newest reliever after being released by the Tigers. We've reached midseason and our owner is ecstatic about our first half performance. We're just a game out of first, upgraded third base, brought in young talent like Al Wingo, and improved the team's chemistry. But we need to improve this roster to contend with the Yankees. After being unable to swing a deal for Grover Cleveland Alexander, we're sending 20-year-old starter Joe Bush and $50,000 to the Cubs for 32-year-old starter Hippo Vaughn. Their stats are similar for the season, but my scout likes Vaughn better. So how do the Yankees respond? They trade an unmotivated 2-star potential pitcher by the name of Leo Magnum for Grover Cleveland Alexander. I'm speechless. I don't have a rip-off trade like that up my sleeve, but we'll swap reliever Sam Jones for control freak Sim Salih. Please stand up. Salih is an extreme match for our ballpark, and I'm hoping we can get some good performances from that 36-year-old arm. In other trades, the St. Louis Cardinals acquired catcher Butcher Henline from the Brooklyn Robins, Shoeless Joe Jackson from the Chicago White Sox, and Babe Adams from the Pittsburgh Pirates. The New York Giants acquired outfielder Max Carey from the Pittsburgh Pirates as well, and the Indians acquired outfielder Tilly Walker from the Phillies. And we were greeted rudely by Tilly Walker in Cleveland, where he took Ferdy Shupp deep for a 3-run homer. The Indians held on and pushed us 1.5 games behind the Yankees. We finished July 18-10 and still have a chance. Ray Grimes and Johnny Mostel carried us with OPSs over 900, and Waite Hoyt collected another 4 victories. We lost infielder Mike McNally for 6 weeks, but Harry Hooper should return from his injury in August. He was back in the lineup to end August against Chicago, but it was Ray Grimes putting us up 5-0 with this 2 RBI single in the 4th. Waite Hoyt provided 8 shutout innings for an easy 7-0 win, which officially eliminated the reigning AL champion White Sox from World Series contention. We went 17-11 in August, while the Yankees only played .500 ball. so we enter September a game and a half in front. Ray Grimes and Frank Baker both posted OPSs over 900. Slim Salee joined the rotation and posted a 2.12 ERA over 29 innings while posting exactly 2 strikeouts. Slim Salee joined the rotation and posted a 2.12 ERA over 29 innings while posting exactly 2 strikeouts. Following a loss on September 1st, we're hosting the Yankees in a pivotal 4-game series. Frank Baker ended the scoreless deadlock in the 6th inning with this RBI triple. Hippo Vaughn was sensational, and Frank Miller retired Bob Musial to end the game with Babe Ruth waiting on deck. Bob Musial crushed a 2 RBI triple to put the Yankees in front of the second game. Al Wingo's single loaded the bases for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 9th, and then Wally Shank blooped a double into right field with Wingo coming all the way around from first base to score the winning run. Del Pratt doubled with a runner on in the 11th, and then Wally Pipp was able to drive that runner in with a sacrifice fly. After a Ray Grimes single, Bubbles Hargrave sent a fly ball deep to left field and gone! A walk-off home run for Bubbles Hargrave, and it's 3 wins in a row for the Red Sox. Babe Ruth finally showed up in the 4th game with a 2-run home run. He only had 2 hits in the series. Those runs were enough because Grover Cleveland Alexander shut us out on 7 hits. This game also snapped Frank Baker's 23-game hit streak, which would be the 4th longest in baseball in the 1920 season. The New York Giants are close to clinching the National League. Taking 3 of 4 from the Yankees was great, but we stumbled to the finish line, going just 11-10 since the Yankees series. We need to defeat Walter Johnson and the Washington Senators on the final day of the season to reach the World Series. If we lose, we potentially face a 1-game playoff against the Yankees for the American League pennant. Slim Salee got the start and brought his bat too. Then Wally Shank scored him on a single. Frank Baker drove in another run in the 3rd, and Al Wingo drove him in for a 4-0 lead. The Senators rallied in the 9th, but Dan Greiner struck out Brago Roth to clinch the American League pennant. We finished with 92 wins, 1 more than the New York Yankees and 6 ahead of the Cleveland Indians. The New York Giants won 96 and held off the St. Louis Cardinals to become our opponents in the World Series. The Detroit Stars posted 61 wins to claim the pennant in the first season of the Negro National League. We finished just 3rd in the American League with a plus 79 run differential. The Yankees finished at plus 151 and the Indians were plus 100. And the National League champion New York Giants finished with plus 126. We also proudly finished last in Major League Baseball with 38 stolen bases. First baseman Ray Grimes set a new Major League Baseball record with 65 doubles and finished in the top 10 in total bases, walks, extra base hits, and isolated power. Center fielder Johnny Mostel finished 5th with 45 doubles and 7th in wins above replacement with 7.9. Babe Ruth led the league in 14 of the 24 offensive categories and posted 11.8 wins above replacement with 36 home runs. Johnny Mostel wasn't even on our opening day roster, but he led the Red Sox position players in wins above replacement by a wide margin. Ray Grimes was our best pure hitter, leading the team in most major categories and posting an .888 OPS for nearly 5 wins above replacement. Frank Baker led the club in homers with a whopping 9, while striking out 22 times. 4 players finished with double-digit triples, and the Unsung Hero Award goes to Stuffy McGinnis for hitting .387 in pinch hit duty. Waite Hoyt led all of baseball with 345 innings pitched and 35 quality starts, while finishing in the top 10 in wins above replacement, wins, win percentage, and strikeouts. All his stats were boosted by our 3-man rotation, something the other teams didn't use. Hippo Vaughn finished in the top 10 in WAR, innings pitched, strikeout to walk ratio, strikeouts per 9, and quality starts. Our relievers were the most heavily used in baseball, which helped them dominate saves, shutdowns, and holds. Dan Greiner excelled in his reliever-only role, leading our staff with a 2.5 strikeout to walk ratio. Waite Hoyt anchored our rotation with 22 wins and 55 starts. Hippo Vaughn allowed no home runs after coming over from the Chicago Cubs at the deadline. It took a while to figure out our number 3 starter after stints by Herb Pennock, Joe Bush, Hal Devaney, and Dick McCabe, but Slim Salee got my attention, please. with 10 strikeouts over 78 innings. The National League champion Giants make up for their lack of a true superstar with quality up and down their roster. Ross Youngs, Frankie Fritsch, and George Burns led their position players with 5 wins above replacement. Center fielder Max Carey and Frankie Fritsch led the league with 54 and 52 stolen bases respectively. Meanwhile, Dazzy Vance, Fred Toney, and Red Ames each finished with 20 wins. Vance led the league in strikeouts with 149. We'll stick with the 3-man rotation of Hoyt, Vaughn, and Sallee and a 7-man bullpen. Hoyt could start 4 games if this series goes the full 9 games. Wally Shang will continue to split between catcher and left field. Dan Greiner regains the closer role he lost to Frank Miller during the season. Max Carey drove in Kurt Walker in the 8th inning for the only run of Game 1, with Dazzy Vance pitching around 4 Giants errors for a 3-hit shutout. Max Carey continued driving in runs in Game 2, putting them up 2-0 on this double. Bubbles Hargrave and Tim Hendricks reached in the 9th, but Dick Rudolph got Wally Shang to pop up to finish his complete game win. Frankie Fritsch's 3rd hit of Game 3 gave the Giants a 2-1 lead, and George Burns extended it with a sac fly. Fred Toney only allowed 1 run and picked off Al Wingo to end Game 3. So we're in a deep hole after scoring just 3 runs in the first 3 games at the Polo Grounds. We head back to Fenway Park now for 4 games, if necessary, and hope to pull ourselves back into this series. Al Wingo's 5th inning home run put us up 8-0 in Game 4. 9 Red Sox extra base hits and 4 Giants errors turned this one into a laugher, 16-3. Art Fletcher's RBI single kick-started a 4-run 2nd inning for the Giants. Dazzy Vance coasted until the 9th, and a throwing error made it 5-4. Up came Harry Hooper, who smashed a high fly ball, which was caught by 3rd baseman Red Smith. Max Carey kicked off a barrage of extra base hits against Slim Sallee in Game 6. George Burns made it 2-0 with this double in the 6th, and then 5-0 with a triple in the 7th. We couldn't get anything going against Dick Rudolph again, and the Giants are World Series champions. We can take some solace that the series ended in a run-scoring deadlock, thanks to our 16-3 victory, but outside of our assault on 4th starter Red Ames, they were clearly superior. Ray Barnes was our best hitter with an 1100 OPS, while Frank Baker and Wally Shang couldn't buy hits throughout the series. Frankie Fritsch and the Giants matched Grimes knock for knock, but the Giants got consistent performances all throughout their lineup. Tough luck for Waite Hoyt, who allowed just 1 run in 16 innings. Sallee and Vaughn couldn't match his standard, while the Giants' top 3 of Dazzy Vance, Dick Rudolph, and Fred Toney each posted ERAs of 1.50. So New York wins the World Series, just as I feared, except it was the other New York. By advancing to the World Series without Ruth, the curse loses some of its luster, even if it still comes to be. That all said, this challenge is unresolved. Let's head to the 1921 season. But first, we're releasing a few players before their contracts renew. Hal Devaney was the most successful of the 3, posting 9 wins and a 3.05 ERA for our Red Sox in 1920. George Mohart pitched 20 innings at replacement level, while Del Gaynor made only 4 plate appearances. For my first time ever, I'm going to have to fix a broken financial system in the game. See, there's no draft until 1965, which means all the rookies enter free agency. In the game, team revenues are exceeding expenses by a huge margin, so all the general managers effectively have a blank check. The problem is the AI doesn't know how to handle a blank check. I can literally outbid it for every single free agent that I want, and I'm gonna get them. And so that's just a game-breaking situation for me, so I'm gonna have to intervene with these budgets. I used the average expenses of $169,000 from 1920 as the baseline for 1921, since there was no net budget growth. So the average budget will be $169,000 instead of the ridiculous figures you are seeing on the left side of the screen. Instead of giving everyone average, each team gets a budget proportionate to their original budgets. The team with the highest budget in the prior state on the left also gets the highest revised budget on the right. But these budgets should be much fairer to play with. My owner welcomed me to the organization and presented me with new goals, which all seem attainable given I have 20 grand to spend on this year's rookie free agent crop. So about this whole welcome to the organization bullcrap, I put up with it in Philadelphia because we were terrible and I just wanted to keep my job. You don't know who I am? I'm the guy who took your crappy baseball team to the World Series in his first season. Oh, and I know who you are. You're the fool who sold the greatest baseball player of all time for spare change. And because of you, I have to travel back 100 years in time to prevent generations of Red Sox fans from living in misery. So show some respect! Much of our budget room is thanks to pay cut taken by half of our players. The only player to get a significant raise was first baseman Ray Grimes. Bubbles Hargrave makes twice as much as any other player, perhaps making him someone to shop. Our entire staff carries over into the 1920 season with no changes. The exciting thing about playing before 1965 is free agency. Rookie free agency, that is. There's no draft, so it's a free-for-all. Here's where I need to put my 20 grand to good use. This class is heavy on MLB-ready middle infielders, which fits a need. Then there's Pete Donahue, who I'd be crazy not to bid on. After that, we'll see how many high-potential prospects I can snag. Only the Cubs, Tigers, Cardinals, and Pirates have minor league affiliates in 1921, so this is where their advantage should come in. We hit the trade market during the winter meetings, sending catcher Bubbles Hargrave and his huge salary, along with a pair of reserve outfielders, to the Chicago White Sox for outfielder Happy Felsch and $9,000. Felsch enjoyed his best season in 1920 and didn't get caught throwing the 1919 World Series, so I'm expecting more in 1921, assuming we can keep him away from the gamblers. I'll train him in left field because Johnny Mostel is a superior defensive center fielder. The fact that he can back up at shortstop is nice too. Then I made a trade with our rival New York Yankees. We sent them Mr. 387 batting average Stuffy McGinnis and reserve infielder Ozzie Vitt for George Quinn and $35,000. I don't care one bit about George Quinn, and I don't really need the money. I just don't want the Yankees to have that money. So if 2 reserve infielders is all that takes, deal. We successfully acquired our primary free agent target. Pete Donahue is our highest paid player and immediately slots into our starting rotation, and his finesse style fits our ballpark and defense perfectly. With second base being in need, we signed 20-year-old George Grantham to a major league deal. He's on the opening day roster and will split second base duties with Eddie Foster. They're a good combination, both in the sense of offense versus defense and left-handed versus right-handed. We signed 4 more infielders to major league contracts, but they'll start on the reserve roster. One is 17-year-old first baseman Lou Gehrig, and another is shortstop Travis Stonewall Jackson. Given I took the step of giving them major league contracts, it's unclear if I can keep them happy on my reserve roster, but worst case scenario, I stopped the Yankees from getting both of them. We signed a few outfielders as well. Hack Wilson and Kiki Coiler will have a difficult time finding the field for us until they develop further. And finally, more pitchers to round us out. Charlie Root and Pat Malone are the only 2 signed to minor league contracts with signing bonuses. The other teams chickened out of even bidding on players once I offered major league deals. We'll see if they were right to do so or not. As a result of all these signings, our minor league system went from worst to first by a wide margin. That's nice, but it does me no good if the Yankees win the World Series before these guys get to the majors. Paying these players while they develop shouldn't be a problem, but managing through injury challenges could be. But I must say, as an aside, the AI general managers handled the whole rookie free agent situation horribly. Only 20 of the players from our 1920 World Series squad are on our opening day roster. The 2 rookie free agents are here. Dick Burris takes the place of Stuffy McGinnis as our backup first baseman. Happy Felsch will start in left field, and Mike Minoski is back after getting injured in the first game of the 1920 season. Second baseman Eddie Foster will miss the first week of the season with a thumb injury, but he should be fine long term. 2 key developments with the Yankees roster. First, they haven't added any players that are 3 stars or better, despite having all that money. Though we need to watch out for center fielder Lefty O'Doul's development as a star player. And second, Babe Ruth will miss the first week of the season with a strained oblique. Harry Hooper's 9th inning triple off Walter Johnson gave us a comfortable 5-2 lead in Washington, but not comfortable enough. Clyde Milon's single off Frank Miller tied the game 5-5, and then the Senators won the game on an error by shortstop Everett Scott. The loss is extra painful considering Waite Hoyt's fine pitching performance and us collecting 14 hits and 4 walks off Senators ace Walter Johnson. We entered the final day of April on a 7-game losing streak and then surrendered a 2-run triple to Yankees shortstop Roger Peckinpah. Jesse Barnes finished off Johnny Bassler for our 8th loss in a row. The Yankees and Indians share first place and we're 5.5 back. Third baseman Frank Baker had an outstanding month with 6 home runs, but our newcomers aren't acclimating well. Happy Felsch only posted a .665 OPS, George Grantham's is .681, and Pete Donahue has been overmatched in his first 5 starts, yielding an ERA over 7. Slim Salee has been great out of the bullpen and wants his rotation spot back. We ended May in Philadelphia, where Johnny Mostel's triple gave us a 2-0 lead. Hippo Vaughn got out of a bases-loaded jam in the 6th, and Dan Greiner buttoned up a 6-0 victory. We finished the month with a 20-8 record, 3.5 games behind the Yankees now. While the Cleveland Indians slipped, the St. Louis Browns are keeping pressure on New York, just 1 game back. Happy Felsch improved significantly in May, leading the team with a .928 OPS, and so did our bullpen, pitching to a 2.04 ERA. Slim Salee leads it with a 1.39 ERA and is getting a turn in the closer role. We signed prankster Sherry Smith, who the Cincinnati Reds released, and he's pitched 5 1/3 scoreless innings. Carmen Hill was moved to the reserve roster, leaving our bullpen left-handed heavy. Congratulations to Frank Home Run Baker for driving in his 1,000th career RBI on June 3rd against the Cleveland Indians. It was part of a 15-2 win that pulled us within 2.5 games of the Yankees. With first place on the line on the final day of June, Harry Hooper slammed a double off Grover Cleveland Alexander to put our Red Sox up 4-0. Babe Ruth crushed a scary-looking home run in the 5th, his 19th of the season. But Happy Felsch matched him with his 8th of the season in the 6th to seal the Red Sox victory. We're now in first place over New York by half a game thanks to its stellar 20-7 record in June. Frank Baker and Happy Felsch both posted OPSs over 1,000. Waite Hoyt is on pace for 32 wins, and Pete Donahue has found his footing in his rookie season. We reached midseason, and Harry Frazee is very happy with the job we've done. We're pacing the American League now and boast the best minor league system. We've got a little work to do with attendance, nothing a little price cut can't solve. Frank Baker's stellar season continues with a 5-hit game against the Detroit Tigers. He's on pace to post his career best season at 35 years of age. Happy Felsch is matching Baker's success at the plate and took his turn for an achievement with a cycle plus a walk. Unfortunately, we lost this game to the St. Louis Browns 7-5. It's trade deadline time, so Al Wingo, Herb Pennock, and Sud Sutherland are moving teams, but not cities. They'll join the Boston Braves in return for outfielder Joe Harris. He hits left-handed pitching very well and should become a perfect platoon partner for Harry Hooper, once we can get him trained up in right field anyway. Next, we're trading outfielder Mike Minoski and setup man Art Neff to the rebuilding Philadelphia Phillies for 2 players, technically as 2 separate trades. The first is Dave Bancroft, a big upgrade at the shortstop position, both offensively and defensively, over our current shortstop Everett Scott. The one negative here is Bancroft's personality. However, Mike Minoski and El Wingo were both outspoken, so we've net improved the team chemistry from my point of view. The second player received is 40-year-old outfielder Gavi Cravath to serve as a dangerous pinch hitter. He's already announced that he'll retire at the end of the season and has low adaptability, so we'll have to see how this one goes. That trade left our current shortstop Everett Scott expendable. He's getting sent to the Brooklyn Robins along with reserve outfielder Freddie Schupp for right-handed reliever Leon Cadore. His last 2 seasons were excellent as a starter, but the 30-year-old's home run rate jumped this season. Hopefully he can bring it back down in Boston and we benefit from his leadership trait. These moves also enable one of our top rookie free agent signings to take a more prominent role in our bullpen. Pat Malone has impressed in his first 3 outings and moves up to middle relief. Remarkably, all our activity went virtually unchallenged by the rest of baseball. Only 2 other July trades occurred, and the one major one being the Brooklyn Robins acquiring first baseman George Burns from the Philadelphia Athletics. Things were looking good against the St. Louis Browns until Sherry Smith surrendered a solo homer to Marty McManus, then a 2-run homer to Ken Williams just 2 batters later. The Browns held on to beat us despite committing 6 errors. Despite this setback, we end July with an 18-9 record and sit 2.5 games in front of the Yankees. As usual, Happy Felsch and Frank Baker are pacing the run-scoring attack. Felsch slashed .408, .475, .631 in July. Rookie Pete Donahue went 6-1 with a 2.37 ERA to lead our starters. Slim Salih continues his great run with 8 more saves and a 1.23 ERA. More personal milestones for Frank Baker. This time it's his 2000th hit, which came in a loss against the Chicago White Sox at Fenway Park. We finished August with a whimper at Comiskey Park. Shane Collins' triple in the second inning would be all Eddie Seacott needed. He shut us out on 5 hits, retiring former teammate and World Series thrower Happy Felsch to end the game. We went 14-9 in August, but stretched our lead to an extra game over the Yankees. It was Ray Grimes' turn to carry the run-scoring attack with a 443, 514, 670 slash line. Waite Hoyt won 5 more games, bringing his total to 24. Rookie reliever Pat Malone is yet to allow a run in 11 innings. We'll call up 2 players for September. 21-year-old second baseman Bill Barrett will get his first taste of active duty and a chance to impress, as our other rookie George Grantham has failed to during the second half of the season. Carmen Hill returns to the active roster for mop-up duty. A sweep of the Athletics to begin September puts us 4 games in front for a massive 5-game home and away series against the Yankees. We could effectively wrap up the American League pennant race or launch a mad scramble to the finish line. Johnny Mostel singled with the bases loaded in the 5th to give us the lead. Then Pat Malone walked lefty Udul in the 6th to bring up Babe Ruth with the bases loaded and 2 outs. No problem. Slim Salih induced a 4-6-3 double play for a Red Sox winner. Johnny Bassler delivered a clutch 2 RBI single in the 8th for a 4-3 lead, but lefty Udul's on deck and Babe Ruth is in the hole? Slim Salih's got this for his second save of the day. We're looking for the sweep of the home leg, but Pat Malone just surrendered his first career earned run with Babe Ruth coming up. Babe Ruth walks. Bob Musil walks. Not good. But thankfully he retires Fritz Maisel, and now we're up 7 games heading to New York. We're looking to continue our run, but lefty Udul has something to say about that, and Babe Ruth made it back-to-back to tie the game. But Slim Salih helped himself in the 8th to restore our lead, and Pat Malone earned his first career save by retiring Del Pratt. Ray Grimes is going to put the Yankees out of their misery. Then Joe Harris makes it 5-0. Frank Baker's double makes it 6-0. Waite Hoyt steps up to the plate and he slaps a single. It's an 11-run inning. Sherry Smith wraps it up. Good night, my sweet Yankees. You've been massacred. Frank Baker just can't stay out of the headlines this season. It's another 5-hit game for our third baseman and an unbelievable season. We won the American League by a whopping 15 games, while the St. Louis Cardinals won the National League by a not whopping 1 game over the New York Giants, so they'll be our opponents in the World Series. The Columbus Buckeyes win the Negro National League with a 68-32 record, 6 games ahead of the St. Louis Giants. We won 106 games, partially by leading the league in on-base percentage, walk rate, and batter WAR, but the bigger reason was allowing the fewest runs with just 586. Our league-leading 3.19 ERA was by far the best in baseball and bolstered by the second-best defensive zone rating in baseball. All this amounted to a league-best plus 255 run differential. First baseman Ray Grimes fell short of his record of 65 doubles this season, but still led all of baseball with 55. He also finished in the top 10 in on-base percentage, at-bats, runs, walks, extra base hits, and win probability added. Frank Baker and Johnny Mostel shared the league lead with 8 sacrifice flies. Rogers Hornsby and Shoeless Joe Jackson both hit over 400 for the St. Louis Cardinals. It's the first time that's happened since Ed Delahanty and Billy Hamilton did it for the Phillies in 1894. Babe Ruth set records with 49 home runs, a 745 slugging percentage, and a 1236 OPS. Mostel quietly finished second on the team with 6.5 WAR powered by defense and 19 triples. Newcomer Happy Felsch overcame a rough April to finish with 5.9 WAR. Catcher Johnny Bassler improved substantially to 1.9 WAR in part-time duty. Waite Hoyt led all of baseball with 30 wins and 339 innings pitched. He also finished in the top 10 in 9 other categories. Slim Salih set a new Major League record with 23 saves. Hippo Vaughn also finished on the ERA, wins, WHIP, FIP, and pitcher WAR leaderboard. This season was all Hoyt, Vaughn, and Donahue, making 46 starts each, and then Slim Saleh doing all sorts of jobs for us. Pat Malone showed up well after his major league call-up to give us another bullpen weapon for the World Series. The Cardinals won 95 games to claim the National League pennant. They're led by a pair of superstars who finished with 400 batting averages, Rogers Hornsby and Shoeless Joe Jackson. Their top two starters, Babe Adams and Jeff Pfeffer, led baseball in walks per 9, so we'll need to earn our runs in this best-of-9 World Series. We bring our red-hot pitching staff into the World Series, and there are no surprises on this roster. We'll lean on the same 3-man rotation and offensive depth charts, so let's go win the World Series. Wally Shang took over Game 1 with an RBI single that scored Harry Hooper in the 3rd, and a 2-run single that brought home Waite Hoyt and Harry Hooper in the 4th. Our Red Sox take the first one 6-2. Happy Felsch stepped up in the 7th inning and drilled his second triple of the game to give us a comfortable lead. Leon Cadore came on for Hippo Vaughn in the 9th and got into a heap of trouble, but got Ira Flagstead to end the game. George Grantham capped a first inning 2-out rally with a double to score Johnny Mostel, making it 4-0 Sox. Rogers Hornsby ignited a Cardinal comeback with a home run over the monster, but Pete Donahue put that to rest with a 2-run single in the 6th. Shoeless Joe Jackson ripped a liner to Grantham to make it a 3-0 series lead. That couldn't have gone any better. We outscored the Cardinals 21-8 over the first 3 games and are just 2 away from making the Bambino's curse a thing that never was. We head to Sportsman's Park for games 4 through 7 if necessary. Hopefully, we've played our last game at Fenway Park. Cliff Heathcote's 4th inning RBI triple gave the Cardinals a 3-1 lead, but then we loaded the bases in the top of the 6th, only for Johnny Mostel to fly out to right field. Bill Doak retired George Grantham to give the Cardinals their first win of the series. Jack Smith singled home Jack Fournier in the 6th, but Harry Hooper's 8th inning single loaded the bases for Frank Baker, who struck out swinging. We couldn't get much going in the 9th, and Johnny Bastro's groundout means we've got a series on our hands now. Dave Bancroft was our last chance, and he hit a ball fair into the corner. George Grantham rounds 3rd and scores the tying run. And then Joe Harris lines a clutch single to right, and we're in the lead. Slim Saleh comes in and delivers an easy 1-2-3 inning, and we're 1 win away. What a huge win that was to break the Cardinals' momentum. Now we have 3 chances to win the best-of-9 World Series, 1 in St. Louis and 2 at Fenway if we need them. The Cardinals pinch hit for Rogers Hornsby in the 7th. Oh, that's a home run. Frank Baker and Wally Shang reached in the 9th, and then we loaded the bases on Johnny Mostel's bunt, leaving it to Gavy Kravitz to pop out to the 3rd baseman. With 2 runners on, Bill Doak got Happy Felsch to hit a fly ball, but it landed in the gap, scoring 1 and putting the tying runs on base for Frank Home Run Baker. Baker hit it hard, but right at the first baseman for the ground out. We're going to Game 9. Rogers Hornsby opened the scoring by smashing his 2nd home run of the series. It's the 6th, we need a run, and Wally Shang delivers a deep fly ball that's off the wall and will score 2. Red Sox lead Game 9. Joe Harris grounds it to 3rd, and Shoeless Joe throws it away, 6-2. Pat Malone gets the ball and surrenders a single to Jack Smith, bringing up Shoeless Joe Jackson. He smashes it into the hole, but it's picked by first baseman Ray Grimes, who brings it to the bag for our curse-preventing World Series. The format shifted to a 7-game series in 1922, making this the first and last time the World Series will go to a deciding 9th game. We can thank our defensive specialists Johnny Mostel and Dave Bancroft for major contributions with the bat. We survived poor World Series performances by rookie George Grantham and regular season hero Frank Baker. None of our pitchers stood out as good or bad, but special kudos to Pat Malone for getting only 2 outs, but the biggest 2 outs of the series. That means we've completed the challenge successfully. Red Sox fans, you'll never hear about the curse of the Bambino in this world. You're welcome. Here is the great villain of the save, Babe Ruth. His home runs are down, but overall production still incredible. Just like in real life, his Yankees haven't won the World Series yet, but his former team, the Boston Red Sox, won the World Series without him, forever changing the narrative. Even if he does go on to be the greatest baseball player ever, the curse of the Bambino never was. Waite Hoyt was one of 8 original players who won World Series rings with Boston. He was our ace from day one and bore the burden of an enormous workload without issue. His 12.8 wins above replacement over 2 seasons was a huge reason why we finished ahead of the Yankees 2 seasons in a row. Wally Schang was a trooper, playing out of position for much of 1920 due to injuries in our outfield, even grabbing 13 triples in the process. He caught full-time in 1921 and put up a whopping .437 on-base percentage for us. Now, the only thing Wally Schang wasn't good at was defense behind the plate, which was the only thing third-string catcher Roxy Walters is good at. That made him a perfect defensive replacement, and he did his job well for 2 seasons. .5 WAR over 2 seasons isn't bad at all for a 1.5-star catcher. Ray Grimes set the MLB record for doubles in 1920 and amped his triples up to 14 in 1921. He supplied 10 WAR over 2 seasons and made the defensive play that clinched the 1921 World Series. Eddie Foster started at second base in 1920 and took a short-side platoon role in 1921. Not one of our better players, but he's a champion. Cliff Brady was another awful player who survived the entire save solely because he was our captain, keeping our morale high and our clubhouse issues in check. He collected 7 hits over 2 seasons in the process. Mike McNally was another player who was bad at everything except one thing, base running in his case. McNally spent 2 seasons as our designated pinch hitter, accumulating 17 runs and 0 stolen bases in the process. Harry Hooper is by far the longest tenured Red Sox player. His 1920 season was significantly shortened due to injury, but he came back fairly strong in 1921, posting a solid 124 WRC+ and playing superb defense in right field. He ends the 1921 season as the all-time franchise leader in career games, at-bats, runs, hits, total bases, singles, triples, stolen bases, walks, and hit by pitches. Legend. But we made this save work quickly, frankly, because the AI general managers let me do whatever I wanted. Everyone had cash, and I was the only one willing to spend mine on the former major leaguers who were without clubs in 1920. That landed us Johnny Mostel, Frank Baker, and Bubbles Hargrave in Season 1. Some of our trades were negative WAR, but it got us the specialists we needed to make the overall team perform better. But at the same time, I've learned some lessons about what it's like to play this game so early in Major League history, and I'm adding some house rules to my arsenal for future saves. First, upgrading contract offers from a minor league contract to a major league contract is completely overpowered, so I won't do it anymore. Also overpowered in this era is using a 3-man rotation when all the other teams are using 5, so from now on, I'll force myself to use the default starting rotation size that the other clubs are using. And lastly, right-sizing the team budgets before 1921 worked fairly well, and it would have worked better if I would have paired it with the other 2 house rules, so if you're going to play during this era, I definitely recommend cleaning up the budgets. But yes, I know, shame on Out of the Park Baseball for making you do that. I must also say I'm disappointed in the accuracy of the game settings in this era. For one, a lot of the prominent independent leagues of the time are excluded from the game, which is why all those free agents were available there to begin with. The Negro National League settings are way off. It has a World Series set up, but they didn't play a World Series in the early 20s in the Negro National League. A little bit of research would have solved that. But anyway, that's it for this save. Always fun to dive into a different era of baseball, even if the game was a bit broken. I'm a little tempted to continue this save, taking over the White Sox, since they've got their own curse I could break. So let me know what you think about that. Take on a part 2 of this save with the White Sox, or try something different. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll see you for the next one, hopefully, and until then, I'll leave you with the team pictures throughout the save.